Recently, Southwest Airlines took some customers and some employees to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, to play softball and hang out with baseball legend Nolan Ryan. After dinner, some of the players asked a few questions. Here's how that went.
Ryan, Nolan, Ryan, Nolan, Ryan, Nolan, Ryan, Nolan, Ryan, Nolan, Ryan.
What told you as a pitcher when you were about to get a 7 no-hitters or 12 one-hitters? What was it? I mean, you curved.
Well, when I warmed up at night, it's like golfers from week to week, because it's a skill deal, that if your timing and everything isn't right, and that particular night I really struggled with getting loose and having command of my pitches. And so when I came out of the bullpen, I told Tom House, who was our pitching coach, I said, Tom, you might want to tell Bobby that he might want to get somebody up before the game even started, because the stuff I got, we're not going to be here long. And a lot of times what happens is that as you get into the flow of the game and your adrenaline gets up, that you'll get into the game. And so as the game went on, my rhythm got better, my timing got better, and my stuff was better. And so it just one of those days that it all came together. So, the thing about a no-hitter, you never know from game to game, because everything has to go right, and somebody has to make a play in that game that makes the difference between a one-hitter and a no-hitter.
Who was one of your favorite catchers and why? Who would you like to catch?
Well, I think Pudge is by far the most talented catcher I ever threw to. He's extremely athletic, has real quick feet and hands, and he had an unbelievable arm. I told people that as quick as his feet and hands were, he probably would have made a good boxer if he wanted to box as a kid.
Who were some of the toughest hitters you faced?
Well, over the length of my career, and the fact that I changed leagues twice, so I fished in that 27-year period in the National League twice and American League twice. I faced all the great hitters during those eras, and obviously I faced Henry Aaron and Roberto Clemente and Willie Mays and those guys. But the kind of hitter that was the hardest for me was a left-handed contact hitter that didn't swing at bad pitches, that hit the ball where he threw it. And so, that would be a Pete Rose, or that would be a Tony Gwynn, or Mattingly, or George Brett, or Rod Carew, one of those type of guys.
What was it like being in the majors?
Well, when you first go to the major leagues, when I came in the New York Mets at 19 and went out and pitched against Henry Aaron, Joe Torre, and those guys that first time I went out, I had no clue whether I belonged there or not. And I think it takes you a couple of years before you realize that, hey, really, I have what it takes to pitch here, and I have a unique opportunity. And so it was kind of like a dream come true, but then also the realization sets in that you're in a position that you have a very unique opportunity, and try to take advantage of it. So it was very special. Not very often that you get an opportunity to pursue something like that you have a real passion for.
Mr. Ryan, was there any particular Major League ball player that you enjoy striking out that's new?
Well, Reggie Jackson would have been one of them. The big power hitters like Reggie, those kind of guys, because they didn't change their swing. That they were very aggressive, and their intent was to hit you out of the ballpark. And if you made your pitch, you got them out, and if you made a mistake, then usually they had big results. So somebody like Reggie or Willie Stargell, those kind of guys that were big, aggressive type hitters.
What was the longest home run you ever gave up?
Oh, I gave up a few long ones, but I think it'd have to be probably Bo Jackson. I struck out Bo the first 11 times I faced him. on the 12th time, we were in Arlington, and we were leading like 7-1 or something, and he came up, and Bo, if you pitch Bo from his waist up, he had trouble hitting fastball, but from his waist down, the lower you got, the better he hit it, and so he was extremely good low ball hitter. And I got 3-2 on him, and you know, it was late in the game, and I knew if I threw him a curveball, he'd probably chase it, but I didn't want to throw him a curveball. I wanted to just throw him fastball up and see if I could throw it by him. And count was 3-2, and the first 2 pitches I threw to him with that count, I didn't quite get him as high as I wanted him, and he fouled them all. And so on the third one, as soon as it left my hand, I knew I was in trouble because I knew it was going to be down. And he hit it, and I had to turn to see where it hit because I knew it was going to be. And he hit 2/3 up the way and sent straight away center field in the whole Arlington Stadium. And so I read in the paper the next day it was the longest home run ever given up there. And so the next day I came out. We always stretch first when we came out, and I knew that we were supposed to hit around 4:30, and I came out and nobody was on the field, and I'm thinking, God, I might have the time wrong. And all of a sudden I hear, hey, Nolan. And I look out, and the whole team's sitting out there where the ball hit. They're out there waving at me. They wanted to make sure I didn't forget it.
Actually, my question's for Ruth. Ruth, you've heard hundreds of questions being asked to Nolan over the years. What's your favorite story that he tells about a question that's been asked and that has been done?
Well, my favorite story is the one that happened after his encounter with Robin Ventura. And people ask him about that all the time, about what happened and why and all that. But I was there that night with my sons that were in college and some of their friends. And they stood up and they were cheering, all right, Dad. And I'm like, oh no, he's on the bottom of this pile of people and he's 40-something years old. And I never saw him get up. Well, later on, I found out that he was, he did end up on the bottom of all the White Sox and the Rangers, and he thought he was going to suffocate. He said he couldn't breathe, and all of a sudden, he said he felt an arm reach down and grabbed him around the neck and pulled him up and out of that pile of people, and it was Bo, right?
And
it
Bo
was
Jackson.
Bo Jackson.
So Bo and I are like that.
The past couple of years, there's been possible Hall of Famers mentioned the steroid issue. What is your take on it?
You talk about Barry Bonds and some of those guys, they were Hall of Famers with the ability that they had. But it started changing, and when we first started our minor league ball club, we had a lot of minor league kids on it, and it was because people ahead of them were on it, and their only chance to ever get there was they had the level of the playing field. And so baseball's done a good job of cleaning that up, but we have that era there for about 10 years that baseball turned its back on it and didn't address it, that I'm not for sure how that's going to be handled.
Pete Rose, you think he belongs in the Hall, and would you like to see him in the Hall?
Well, I think Pete does, because if you walk through there and see all the things that he accomplished as a player, he should never be there as a manager, and he shouldn't be there. He should not be reinstated in baseball. But I still think that he deserves to be in the Hall for what he accomplished as a player. And I can tell you, of all the players I played against, he was the most intense guy that I ever played against. He couldn't run, he couldn't throw, he had no power, he had stone hands. I mean, he did nothing well, but he made himself a great ball player out of just sheer determination. And if you'd have had him as a teammate, you would have loved him. As an opposing player, you really disliked him.
Well, can you guys help me in thanking Nolan?
Yeah!